General takeaways from the weekend now that you've presumably had some time to watch film and soak it all in.
Yeah, no, I thought overall we played a pretty darn good ball game at USC. You know, collectively we were real good. I thought offensively and defensively, and just critical mistakes at the wrong time, big plays on their part. But it's a game that I think it's what you want to do when you're on the road is put yourself in a position to win a game, and hopefully we can grow from that. And then even as bad maybe as we were at times at UCLA, 12 minutes to go, down 4, and they hit a big 3 because we mess up pick and roll coverage. So what I'm finding, I was asked the question, what's our problem on the road? Well, it's not a collective issue of theme. It's playing quality competition and having to win that game and not checking enough of the boxes in each specific game to qualify to win it. And it is what it is. It's not great to hear from it. It is what it is. If you don't make enough shots at UCLA, if you have enough one-on-one breakdown defensively against UCLA, you don't put yourself in a great position. And there's been stretches in each of these games the last weekend that I thought we were really good. I thought Timmy really grew. TA really grew at UCLA. Probably could have had would have had multiple double-digit assists in that game. Had 8. We missed 4 wide open shots. Probably could have passed a couple later that would have given him that opportunity. So I thought we played the game the right way from an offensive point of view. We weren't strong enough. We had some issues catching the ball, 15 turnovers, and I would say 6 or 7 of them were not coming to meet passes, being a good receiver, Super Bowl lingo, not a quarterback that doesn't, want a receiver that just keeps running away from it and let a guy get in front of him. We had 4 of those going down the stretch at UCLA. So we've just got a lot of things to fix, and we're growing, and we're looking at film. But having said that, and you heard me say it a while back, I think after some wins, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. And I love the concept of chopping wood and getting in the gym, and we've got to play a little bit harder from time to time. We've got to play a little bit more together from time to time, and we can't have senseless turnovers from time to time. And if you piece that together, which of those couple 3-pointers do you want going down the stretch against UCLA or USC? And it's a different category, and we have to go and earn a win.
Coach, sometimes with a young team, they don't have maybe some success. The season can kind of get away from them. What do you think is that? What's your attitude of the team right now? What do you think their attitude is at this point of the season?
Well, this isn't a big touchy-feely point of year. It's going to be a high energy, very enthusiastic practice here coming up in a couple hours. We'll set the tone for that. I think that's my responsibility, our coaching staff's responsibility. It's going to be a lot of the same things of the theme that I just did in that long answer that I just had. There is a reason that we put those phrases up in our facility, and there's thousands of words of coverages and plays and reads and skill sets and everything. At the end of the day, play hard, play smart, and play together, and we've just got to check more of those boxes. But really, it's a couple of possessions here at USC. It's a couple possessions at UCLA that I think the tide stems a little bit. We can make excuses all we want with Booth's injury and being one man down, but we didn't have an overly deep team. So you kind of come into those phases at the end of both of those games. There's a coincidence that, maybe we run out of steam a little bit going down the stretch. I'd love to have some more help that way, and our guys need to step up and make some plays. So we're just going to grind. We've got halfway through league play, and then we've got the conference tournament. We're going to have a lot of fun trying to get better and try to break things down and educate our guys, and then try to piece it together for the Bay Area home schools this weekend.
This is off topic, but
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to,
Okay.
it's minor. Ohio State had a men's player last week announced that he was taking in a leave of absence to deal with some mental health issues. As a coach, as a leader of young people, how has your job changed in the last few years as mental health concerns have kind of come more to the forefront?
Well, first off, I think we're very cognizant of this not being all about basketball. You know, we try to help everybody grow up, and I've shared stories of my own struggles with different things. Our players, we've had numerous team get-togethers where we open and we share things. We've, from years ago, we never had anybody in place like Jonathan Ravarino and his staff to help us sort this out. I'm not a doctor in that regard, but I'm a human being that's gone through some stuff. So we try to help our players, whatever the issues that come up. We certainly let it be known that if they're trying to lose weight, gain weight, clean something up, deal with some mental health issues, get a tutor, look at film, everything here is here. And I think we all feel really fortunate at this program that whatever is the little issue that you might have, big or small, not just little, there's somebody here to help you. And I think that's the biggest thing, specifically with males. It's like the old adage, when you're lost in a car, I could drive around. My wife gives me a hard time. You drive around for half an hour trying to work your way out of it, when I think the other brain is wired a little bit differently to be, okay, give me some help. And that's what I've encouraged our guys to do. Whatever it is that's causing them some problems, let's go lean on these experts that, a great team, sports scientists, guys that we have rock in the strength and conditioning. So that's just part of the picture. And I think it's become a lot more apparent that the brain is a complicated thing. And sometimes I think it was never given the proper focus or understanding that there are issues. And now it's great. It's hard to tie it all in. It's hard to be in college. It's hard to be a college freshman. There's loss. People handle things differently. So that's the thing, I think, is just to communicate and be open about it, and really, really trust the staff that we have in place, and hope that if guys have issues that they'll raise their hand and say, hey, I need a little help over here.
When you see professional athletes, guys like Kevin Love have come out and
DeRozan.
express concerns, right?
Yep.
DeMar DeRozan. When young people see professional athletes come out and make this an issue, can that make the college kids more comfortable talking about it?
I think without a doubt. Yeah. I think you hit it right on the head. That's a really good point. It's there's a lot of role modeling. It wasn't long after Steph Curry decided to shoot free throws with his mouthpiece hanging out of his mouth and biting on it that we had about half the kids in America that were doing the same thing, right? So it's role modeling. It's doing things that you see the heroes and the idols that these young people have, and I think it's great. Even that, for me, in my position, knowing that those players have opened up and asked for help and been very transparent, has made it easier for me to talk to guys and share stories about what we're going through. So I think that's a big key. And we're learning more and more about it, putting resources in place that can help kids. And it's as they always say, this life deal doesn't come with an owner's manual. It doesn't always just go as planned. And sometimes we need to lean for a little bit of help on some of that side, for sure.
Yeah, Brandon Carlson, he started off pretty strong. At the start of the season, had some good games. Then he had a real lull there in the middle. In the last 3 games, he's really come on strong. What's been the difference in his game, do you think?
Well, I think he's on somewhat, not, I wouldn't say normal, but kind of a projected learning curve for a freshman. That's not unusual to maybe come in with your guns a-blazing. Some of the competition in the preseason is not always Pac-12 level, so you've got an opportunity to gain some confidence. I think there were a few kids on our team, some freshmen, and we kind of joked about it at Christmas time that kind of hit the wall. It was hard. It's hard getting through all of the facets of it, the academics and the rigors of it. Brandon was a return missionary, so if you think about his timeline over the last 4 or 5 years, really had 1 year of senior basketball at Bingham. He played behind Yoli Child for a couple of years. So there 1 year where he really grew and started to gain some confidence playing the game, and then went on a mission for 2 years. So it's not easy. You come back from that. I think he's found his legs, and I think he's more comfortable with what it is we're trying to do, and, freeing up his mind a little bit. And I think that's been very helpful. We still have a lot of areas that we need to improve on, but he's making good strides, I think.
One more thing about him, you signed him actually before his senior year, right? He hadn't done much high school wise. Well,
No, we didn't sign him. Couldn't
I
sign
mean,
him.
okay, he committed him, right? I mean, he was committed before he was his senior year of high school. Is that correct?
I'll have to do the math on that one, Mike. I'm not sure that's.
I believe that's the case. But anyway, have you ever had many kids like that who haven't maybe had that experience? I mean, haven't had several years of good play, and yet you've got them committed to your program.
Oh, I'm not exactly sure about the question.
Just the fact that you said he only played, basically 1 year of
Yeah.
high school ball. And, most of these kids are playing for like 5 or 10 years. They're stars of their team. And he was like, you must have seen some potential.
Oh,
to
yeah,
sign
yeah,
him.
yeah. I mean, number one, I think he's got really good hands. He can run like a deer, 7 feet tall. So it's not like you need a sample size of 5 years or 10 years before you're willing to sign a kid. I thought he was one of the best players in Utah. We loved he and his family. We spent time with them on the visits and thought he was a great program guy. And I think the sky's the limit for him. If he wants to punch in and put the time in, with the basketball side of things and getting stronger and give a true commitment, I think, this is just the beginning for what could be a heck of a career. So I think to answer your question, sometimes you recruit a kid for 5 years and he's got a great track record. Other kids, it's more of something that you see developing, but I thought he played really well for his AAU program, in that summer. And it's really hard to coach 7 feet. And I think it kind of reminded us a little bit of Jakob and his ability to catch passes and to really get out and run, and certainly an athletic kid. So we were stoked, and we really didn't have any doubts. But it hasn't been a normal run. But when you throw in maybe his high school and the mission, it may be a little bit slower developing.
Can you just speak to the parity in the Pac-12 right now? It seems like maybe teams 3 or 4 all the way through 11 or 12. There doesn't seem to be that much separating those teams right now.
Yeah, no, and we're at about the halfway point. Haven't looked at the schedule, for sure to see who maybe has an excess home or road games, but man, I know I'm looking at a couple of the team we're one of the teams near the bottom in the bottom third, and we've been really good at times and not so good. I look at Cal. Have got some big wins lately and ultra competitive with the new coach. Washington State, new coach. I think there's something to be said about some of those teams that are in the bottom that are maybe a little bit like us, younger, newness, that are starting to find our stride. And there's a lot of talent in the league, and on any given night, certainly when you get it home, I think teams have an opportunity to win some games. So I agree with you. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, but I think it's I know what we need to focus on for our team is I trust our guys are going to make shots when they get an opportunity. We got to fix some things defensively. We've got to be a lot better. We're last in the league in points scored against us, and there's some things that fighting to get us in a position for the Pac-12 tournament and start playing better. I'm more focused on our squad, but I think it's evident that you better not have your guard down on any given night, because there's some teams in this league that can step up and get some W's.
Just a quick word about Stanford. I mean, they were picked actually behind you in the league, and they've been one of the surprise teams, been around the top of the league all year. Just what do you expect from them?
Well, I think I think they're getting great performance out of Terry and De Silva, the 2 leading scorers. I think they've got a lot of if you look at statistics again, what I just touched on with our deficiencies defensively, they're one of the top teams in our conference. They do a good job playing with a lot of energy. Rotations are great. They double team the post. They put pressure on pick and roll. They really try to speed you up. They fly you off the 3-point line. So some of their success, I think, is what we preach about all the time, is that as defense is going to win some championships, and point totals and percentages, they're amongst the top. I mean, they're holding teams in the 50s. in Pac-12 play. So I think if you start there, that would be an indication of where they've hung their hat, and then they're getting good contributions. They've got three-point shooting. They got really good. Davis is a veteran guard on their team. Terry's a freshman that gives them a great spark. De Silva, their 3 and 4 men shoot the ball, and they're a physical team. So they are a surprise. There's always one or two in the conference, if you look back on it. And, I think that they've done a nice job, their coaching staff, putting guys in positions to be successful. And I really respect what they do on both sides of the ball. They present a lot of problems. Okay. All right.